Well, let's start from Kaduna State, where it appears that the state is set to join states like Lagos and Kano, who operates the Bus Rapid Transit BRT system to offer fast and affordable transport system to residents of the state. Speaking at the groundbreaking of the BRT system in Kaduna State, the governor, Nasir El-Rufai, said the state will solve the transportation challenges of its people through a three-pronged approach, with the introduction of the Bus Rapid Transit, the light rail, as well as partnership with small businesses in the state. Well, according to the governor, this will ease human and vehicular movement around and across the state, which is referred to as a commercial nerve center of northwest Nigeria. Well, gentlemen, Lagos is setting the pace, but we know that states like Kano has also put in place Bus Rapid system. But I think this is a cherry news for residents of Kaduna. After the train attack, a lot of chaos and concerns about the transportation system in the state. But now it appears that relief is definitely coming, and Governor Nasir El-Rufai is initiating a system that could see his administration transit on a high as far as the people of the state are concerned.
Well, I think this is good news for the people of Kaduna, and not just the people of Kaduna, for northern Nigeria, and I think also for Nigerians, because Kaduna is one of the most historical cities in the north. You know, it became the capital of northern Nigeria in 1917, and it's one of the oldest states in Nigeria, created in 1967, the same year that Lagos State was created. And if you look at the history of Kaduna State, the state has always been a hub for political, cultural, and educational institutions in the north. Amadou Bello and all of them, in fact, if you want to prove you're an important person, you must have a house in Kaduna. So until recently that the city was jolted by insecurity and all that, it remains, the destination of, everyone in Nigeria, the weather, the hospitality of the people, the heterogeneous nature of the state, of the state and all that. So I think in coping with the dynamics of, economy of that state and northern Nigeria, I think introducing BRT for a state that its population has gone to around 9 million people, I think it's a very important and significant development. And I hope that you will succeed with this plan, because it's also talking about linking Kaduna City with Southern Zaria, through rail. So if you can be coming up with these achievements, in spite of the security challenges, I think it's quite, remarkable.
Dari, let's look at the timing of this laudable project, just as Adewi has pointed out. Governor El-Rufai will be leaving office in less than maybe 9 months, 6 months rather. By May 29, he will be leaving the office. Is this something that he should be setting in place at this point in time? Or perhaps do you share the pessimism of some people that this is another white elephant project designed to siphon money and settle the boys as the administration is winding down?
Well, Nigerians are very good at being pessimistic. Let's be realistic. And that should not come to anybody as a surprise. However, I think we should look at the good side of things more than we look at the downsides. For El-Rufai to decide at this time of his administration that he's going to talk about BRT, I think people should applaud that rather than, mark it down. How do I mean? If you look at Kaduna and Lagos, has a lot in common. That's the truth. In population explosion, urban, rural issues. Kaduna State, for example, you find people always leaving the rural areas to come to Kaduna, the capital state, the state capital. You find people from neighboring states, name it, Kano, Katsina, Jigawa, Zamfara, as far as Adamawa in the northeast, as far away as Kwara in the north central. People gravitate towards Kaduna on a daily basis. I lived in Katsina for about 5 to 7 years, so I regularly visited Kaduna. And I can tell you, it is a city that was blossoming then and is still continuing to blossom. And you can understand the kind of transportation issues the city would have. It is not out of place for a governor like El-Rufai to have looked at what happens in other states that contributed to solving the transport and traffic problems, and then decide to copy it, no matter the timing. Look at what we have in Lagos. The BRT system we enjoy today is not something a particular governor woke up and just designed. No, it was part of the original developmental plans for Lagos, which were put in place by the government of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he came in 1999. It's on record that he gathered heads and technocrats and said, we have all these problems. He first asked the team to identify the major problems of Lagos. After that report was given to him, he gathered that and said, how do we solve this problem? How long will it take us to solve the problems? And in the area of traffic congestion and transportation, it was established that we need something like the bus rapid transit that can move freely, devoid of traffic, from one end of Lagos to the other. And that was there. But Asiwaju never started the project. It took a government after him to start. It took another government after that to complete it. And it's taken another government, even after that, to continue. So for El-Rufai to decide that I'll start this, it's a plus for him. It's something worth applauding. It is left for the coming administration to continue and get Kaduna to promised land.
All right, let me come to you. Looking at how does the BRT system ease traffic congestion? Dari made, an analogy of Lagos with over 18 million population. I'm not sure how well the BRT system has been able to ease the traffic congestion in Lagos. But a state like Kaduna, which, yes, equally a very well-populated state, but may not be having as much population to deal with on traffic congestion as Lagos does. How do you think this will impact on Kaduna's traffic management at this point in time?
Well, in terms of the area of Kaduna, it's about 46,000 square kilometers, compared with Lagos that is less than just 3,000 plus. So when you're talking about population density, Lagos is far higher in terms of population. But if you look at what has happened in Lagos, the transformation that has happened since 1999, I don't know if you remember the era of Molue. It started from the called Maulit, destroy it, the most savage form of transportation that we are used to in Lagos. How that was eliminated remains a mystery, because it was not as if they were going on the street, picking them up, and arresting them. But gradually, because of the BRT system, Molue phased out naturally, So I think, there have been a kind of significant changes when you're talking about transportation in Lagos, compared with what we used to have in those days. Molue was a kind of, remember Fela's song, 100 sitting, 99 standing. That was the kind of transport we had in Lagos. People hanging like bats, But suddenly, the first 4 years of, the AD government at that time, we saw that, gradually it was being phased out. And there were no riots. The AURTW were incorporated. There was constructive engagement with all the stakeholders. And eventually we were able to have this. I remember even Ghana came to study the BRT corridor as a kind of model for Accra and Kumasi. So it's not out of place that other states in Nigeria, also. So it means that we need to admit that irrespective of the fault lines, there are significant progress that have been made, the transformation of the transport system in Lagos. And I'm not surprised that Kaduna is also trying to copy what Lagos is doing.
Of course, Kaduna State is saying it is using a three-pronged approach, of course, including the bus rapid system. Let's talk about the light rail system. Kaduna State at this point in time is one of the most accessible states by rail system in Nigeria, prior to the March 28 attack between the Abuja-Kaduna rail system. Now, if the Kaduna State government saying it wants to delve into rail system development, don't you think perhaps this is another capital project that may be not necessary at this point a priority for the people of the state when the federal rail system is still yet to be fully maximized?
I think the governor having studied the situation in his state, understands what he's talking about. From the little I know of Kaduna, Kaduna is a very vast city, extremely large. And then you know that the federal rail system actually passes across a particular track. It is not crisscrossing the city or the state. So now, having the advantage of that from in one end of the city, linking it with another light rail that can move people across from other ends of the city to, easily, reducing the pressure on the road is something we should give serious consideration. Let's use the Lagos model again. Lagos is talking about rail. And by the time the government finishes that program, you'll understand. If you want to know what rail will do to removing population of people on the road, come to Oshodi. The rail terminals go from Lupeju end to the Oshodi end in the evening, every day. The train will be loaded full, and you find people sitting on top of the train. These are people living in Lagos, I must tell you. Agbado, Songo, Ijoko. The train will be packed full. The rooftop will be packed full. Every available clinging or hanging place will be occupied. So you can begin to imagine if there is a rail from Yaba that will link Oshodi and proceed. It's going to reduce. And talking about the BRT, it will not be too good if I don't talk about it. How it has been able to reduce traffic. I can give you a personal example. I live in Ikorodu. This morning, coming out of Ikorodu on a Sunday, it's locked up. And I have to be here by 1:30. If I was to drive, I would still be in the traffic. So what did I parked my car, joined the BRT. It has its own corridor. And in precisely 23 minutes, I was at Ketu. And here I am. That tells you that there are people like me who leave their car off the road. That reduces the pressure on the road. And the more effective it becomes, the more advantageous it becomes to the people and to the issue of traffic in Lagos. So, Kaduna, in my own opinion, seems to be studying what is happening in Lagos and trying to catch up. If they are doing BRT at the same time as light rail, they are trying to solve the problem using different types of approaches. And I am sure, knowing what Kaduna looks like, that from whatever end is taking the rail to where it intends to end, the roads on that axis will be less pressured because more people will use the rail.
The rail system.
It's safer and probably more affordable in the long run.
More time saving as well.
And it saves your time. So
well, let's
and then for haulage, if he is bringing a light rail that comes from areas where farm produces and what have you are being moved, you can imagine that all these heavy duty trucks would be off the road while the rail will serve that purpose. So by and large, it's something that will help more than it will hurt.
We hope we're wishing the Kaduna State government led by Governor Nasir El-Rufai all the best as they come up with this laudable initiative in the transport system of one of Nigeria's significant states. When it comes to Kaduna, it's like the commercial and defense headquarters